worry about being a creative jack of all trades, but a master of none?
Today on Honestly, Dear Listener, we're talking to Becca Waugh about tools to help us focus and manage our overwhelm. You can have it all, just maybe not all at once. Becca Waugh is a multiple disciplinary artist with focuses in drawing, painting, music, digital arts, video, animation, and comedic performance. She currently lives and creates in her hometown of Fort Worth, Texas, after residing in Denver, Colorado. Since her return to Texas, Becca's primary focus has been building her graphic design and illustration studio, Sleepy Panther Design Company, which she launched in 2021.
We're two childhood best friends talking about creative mindset.
I'm Emily Hatch.
And I'm Carrie Schaefer, and this is Honestly, Dear Listener.
Honestly, dear listener.
Woo!
Well, hey, Becca.
Oh, hey, Emily and Carrie.
Hello. Thank you so much for joining us. Becca and Emily, how do you know each other?
We met in Denver, Colorado while taking some improv comedy classes.
This is our second guest that we've had on the show that you have met at this comedy class. Emily, you have been racking up all the friends. I'm just raking them up.
I know.
You've been racking up all the friends at improv. So note to self, if you're struggling to find friendships, apparently you need to go to improv comedy
Classes. Yeah, honestly, it's kind of crazy, but we just had such a great group of people that I still talk to all the time. So, Becca's an artist, a visual artist, and many other things, which we'll talk about. But I have since hired her for projects to make my logos and animate stuff. And yeah, and then we just have kept in touch and done some lesson stuff. And yeah, so it's crazy.
Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah. So
That's awesome.
Katie, our former guest, Katie Bowman, she was through improv.
I was wondering who it was.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh,
Yeah,
Katie. Yeah.
So yeah, improv for the win.
You do not have to live in loneliness, dear listener. Get thee to a improv class. That's how you know, because we talk about when you're younger, you go to school or maybe you go to church or whatever, but like what happens when you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s or whatever, and where are all the occasions to meet friends? The bar? I mean, I'm not dogging on the bar, but like
It's not
we
everybody's.
gotta have more options than that.
Yeah, it's not everybody's cup of tea to only meet at bars.
Woo!
Tell us more about what all you're doing right now for your
Yeah.
arts, your work. Tell us all the things.
All the things. It does seem like a lot to me also. But so yeah, 2 years ago in May, or 3 years ago, sorry. I started a graphic design and illustration company called Sleepy Panther Design Co. So like
Sleepy Panther?
Sleepy Panther.
That's
so
so cute.
It's based off of like a historic Fort Worth story. There was I don't know, it's like an old timey story where there was a Dallas attorney who visited Fort Worth, and this was like in the early 1800s. And then he went back to Dallas and wrote to the Dallas Herald, which was the newspaper in Dallas, like that Fort Worth was so desolate or so quiet that there was a panther sleeping on Main Street. So Fort Worthians were like, yeah, we've got panthers. And so now it's, to this day, it's called Panther City. There's so many businesses around here. There's like Panther Island Pavilion, Panther Brewery. Yeah, there's panthers everywhere. Then you don't actually see panthers anywhere in Fort Worth, but the name lives on. So anyways, my name is based off of that story. But yeah, like Emily said, I did some work for her, like logos, but I do logos and branding for people. Just a lot of illustrations and graphics for whatever people need, visual identity and branding. And it's been great. And then also I have a line of coloring books and greeting cards that I've produced.
They're awesome. And they're in stores all over.
Yeah. So I have a Texas alphabet coloring book, a Fort Worth coloring book, and then a Colorado alphabet coloring book.
Cool.
And so yeah, because I've lived in Colorado also, so I'm kind of tackling the states. But yeah, there are a lot. There's a lot locally in stores around Fort Worth, and then around Texas. I distribute either I've gone door to door or I have I'm on Fair, which is a wholesale website where people that connects small businesses like me to retailers and gets me and my products into stores. So
Wow.
so that's been a whole venture, but so
And then
I stay busy with that, with like my graphics and illustration jobs that are coming in. It's been awesome because like I feel like I don't market myself that much, but it's enough where people know what I'm doing, that I have continuous work, which is what you want as a small business owner.
Do you support yourself through your art? 100%?
100%, yeah. Which I like the entire time I was in Denver, which was from 2013 till 2020. I had like just graduated college. I went to school at North Texas, in Denton, Texas, and studied drawing and painting with a minor in psychology. Thought I was going to go into like art therapy, but was like, no, I just want to make art. So, but yeah, so the entire time I was in Denver, it was like kind of a creative exploration, I guess. I got into like improv comedy. I was in a band. I started kind of picking up like art side jobs. But I was in service industry the whole time. So I was either waiting tables or bartending. So upon leaving Denver, I had just kind of, I came back to Texas during the pandemic, and I just was like, I just want to set the intention. I only want to do design work from here on out, or creative type work. I don't really want to be in service industry anymore. Not that there's anything wrong with being in the service industry, but just for me personally, I was kind of had my fill of it and wanted to move on to something else. So, yeah, I just, I got a graphic design job at like kind of an agency company here. They laid everyone off after like 6 months.
Wow.
And then after that, I was looking for work, but it was during the pandemic. So it was just like hard to find work and get connected and like step into a place. You couldn't really go out and meet people at the time. So I was like, well, I'm going to just go into business for myself and see how that goes.
How did that jump go? Because was that scary for you?
Like the jump from just going into
like working for
what I'm
someone
doing
else
now,
or working in the service industry to 100%. It's all you, baby.
I'm still scared all the time.
Yes.
I'm like, which I know I'm doing the right thing then. It's still a challenging thing. I'm not like really raking in the dough right now, but I feel like I've made the moves and steps towards like the path that I am on and that I want to be on. So, and it's been building, and it's also, I'm about to been 3 years. So, I don't know. I pat myself on the back. I think I've done well, especially just kind of being an artist that's stepping into like, I'm going to start a business and manage that whole side of things, which there's a world of improvement. I know that I can improve a world's amount. I'm learning as I go. Yeah, Italy, back to the what else I'm working on. So that's one thing I'm doing is all my graphics and illustrations for people. But I guess because I've focused so much on that kind of like my own personal artistic side and like need for self-expression, I don't know if it's been totally suppressed, but sort of for a few years. Like I still have like been able to paint and stuff, but I'm diving a bit more into my own personal expression. I'm big into this like hot dog and corn dog era of art, which is kind of bizarre sounding.
I love it so much.
Thank you. So I make hot dog and corn dog paintings. I guess I didn't know there was going to be video involved, but maybe I would have brought one over. But it's so I'm kind of doing, it's more performative. So I'm setting up at markets, which I've been doing vendor markets with Sleepy Panther for the last several years. But I don't know, like you get there and you sell your stuff and you talk about your stuff. That's fine. But I don't know, I'm very much like an interactive social person. So I'm doing like, when you walk up to my booth now, you can order a fresh made hot dog or corn dog. So you get to pick your topping, which is ketchup or mustard. It's acrylic paint. Or you get to pick your sides, which I paint the sides of the canvas, either patterns or a color. And I've kind of been dressing up. So I've been wearing like a little chef hat and an apron and stuff. I actually just made a hot dog hat last night because I have a vendor market tonight that I'm doing. It's really ridiculous. It's huge and it looks so silly.
So are you actually painting A hot dog on the canvas?
Yeah, so I'm gonna have the hot dog or the corn dog. So you can pick if you want, like, you can come in and pick your canvas, and if you want the hot dog or corn dog, and then I'm gonna dress it, on the spot. And so I'm getting big into it. I got heat lamps so that the paint can cure and dry on the spot, because I did one market like with this where you could come in and order fresh, made to order, and the paint didn't dry by the time people left. So I was like, ooh, that wasn't the best, but it was a start. So I was like, somebody recently, which I had kind of thought of previously, but he was like, oh, you should get these UV heat lamps to like.
Becca, that's so creative.
I'm just having fun.
I just think
creative, but it's fun. Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Didn't you make recently earrings too, like hot dog and corn dog earrings?
And it's funny because, like, I don't really, the thing that led me to this is there's a local art festival called Arts Goggle. It's in my neighborhood. It's just like pretty much like just south of downtown Fort Worth. And so they block off this whole street. It's called Magnolia Avenue, which has a lot of like shops and restaurants and bars and businesses. And there's a lot of artists kind of in this, creative people in this area. So they block off all of Magnolia, and it's just like vendor market, and then they have bands play. But the first one I did was 2 years ago, and I had a bunch of paintings up, but the only one that people like kept coming around the corner, they'd be like, corn dog. It was just this big, big corn dog painting. And I don't know, my brother-in-law, like that's the only one that sold too, of all like these kind of like larger scale paintings. And my brother-in-law was kind of suggested like, hey, you should run with this. And I was like, so I don't actually eat hot dogs or corn dogs that often. I mean, I like them, but it's I'm just using it as kind of a platform or a subject to stay focused on. So yes, I've made hot dog and corn dog earrings. I made the hot dog hat. I'm kind of wanting to get it more into like fibers and like costuming and like clothing that just has.
Oh yes.
So I'm
girl,
just sticking with the theme and just running with it because it's funny, and it's also funny to me, and people, I get a reaction from people. No one's really offended by it, it's like,
how can you be offended by hot dogs and corn dogs?
I don't.
Come
someone
on.
probably can.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
So if I rolled up to your booth and I was like, oh, I want a Chicago dog with the relish and like, or the pickles and stuff, like, could you do that?
Yeah, I can do any of that. I kind of like, I'll charge per topping. So I actually did like a few weeks ago, I did an event, and I drew up a little menu, and it was like I was just doing drawings on the spot. It wasn't actually paintings, but it was just like, so I did like draw a pizza or a hot dog, and you picked your own toppings and you checked it off, and it was like 50 cents per extra topping if you wanted me to draw it. So I'm just trying to have fun with that also. But yes.
What's the most creative thing that somebody's asked for in terms of toppings and sides or whatever?
Oh, well, so I feel like I'm just still like it's kind of the new stage of this, so it hasn't gotten too extravagant yet. But I mean, I guess most recently, there was a friend that she was like, I want a Beetlejuice dog. So it was just like relish real thick on a hot dog, and it had black and white stripes on the back.
Cute.
So it was like Beetlejuice. So there was that, and then someone wanted ketchup and mustard, so I kind of did like a little gradient where it like was red into the yellow, and so I'm actually really excited to see, because this is sort of a new thing, like a new path. So yeah, I'm excited to see what people come up with and what they suggest. And
yeah, that's awesome.
And then what else do you do?
Music.
Yes.
Which Emily, we met for a few coaching sessions, it was funny because I did the logo, and then Emily
for which one?
For gigging singer.
Mm-hmm.
Gigging singer. And she was like, hey, do you want to do some vocal lessons? And I was like, oh, well, I don't know if I need them because, I'm a singer, whatever. But I was like, I feel like there's probably something I can learn there. I feel like any opportunity that presents itself, you're like, yeah, let's give it a go. So, but yeah, it was helpful. I feel like it was almost more like music coaching than it was vocally, just because I'm an experienced singer, so I've been doing it for years. So I don't need a ton of direction with that, but she helps me kind of loosen up and do some stuff. So yeah, and then just set some goals, which within the last few weeks, I have done a few open mics, which was a goal that we
Yay!
set.
I just got
So
goosebumps because I didn't know that.
I did.
Yay! 2?
Oh, surprise. I did 2. I did one last week and the one the week before.
Yay!
And I definitely was really pretty nervous on the first week, but when I got off the stage, people were, that was the first time I had sang and played guitar together in years. Yeah, I'm writing right now and then just trying to get out and perform more. And the music, it's, in time, hopefully it'd be nice to like form a band, but at the same time, just getting my feet wet with it again. So it's
awesome.
Yeah.
I am so freaking
great.
stoked, dude. Like, so a lot of what we talked about was kind of empowerment and being like, we don't have to have other people. When you play an instrument and sing, you can do whatever the hell you want. So I'm so excited. I'm so glad you did that.
Way to smash your goals, Becca. That's
Thank you.
huge.
I am trying.
You're doing.
I think there might be 30 hours in Becca's day. Like, I'm not sure. No.
Yeah, Becca, how can I get 30 hours? I need more time.
I don't
in my
know.
Day.
I don't know.
How do you do it?
I want more time in a day. I wish I had that, like in Harry Potter, like Hermione has that thing where you can stop time and then go back.
Yes.
I want that. That'd be great.
So you can learn all the things. Like she goes to multiple classes. Like that's all I've ever wanted.
Yeah.
Is just to sit in on every single class.
Create a montage of if I could turn back time. It's just Hermione.
If I can turn.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying. Like that's a struggle too. Is just managing all the different things because, yeah, they all are cool and interesting and fun. And I mean, I guess that is one thing. Is like I don't have children, so I don't have that responsibility. Which people are like, how do you manage that or whatever? But yeah, it's just managing myself, which is great.
How do you manage yourself?
How do you manage?
Tell us. Tell us the secrets? Like, how do you make yourself do stuff? Because it's all. I mean, everything's on you, right? Because you're supporting yourself 100% through your art. And for me, and I think for a lot of us out there, when you're not working for the man and the man is setting your hours and the man is telling you this is when you need to show up to work and this is when you need to go home.
Yeah. So, I mean, I do like answer to the people I'm working for. So that does keep me in track. Like there's priority of like, that's what's paying the bills primarily, is like, I set that business up for myself where I have that regular thing coming in, which allows me to have time to work on the other things like the hot dog, corn dog thing or the music, which, the other artwork can sell also. And so, it's just kind of managing the schedule and prioritizing. I mean, the things where I'm working with people and they have deadlines, like that's a priority. And then, just fitting in all the other things, which I mean, I can do. And like, I also do like these markets. So I'll have one tonight and then I'm going to take part in like a kind of like an artist, art show, house show that's going to be cool next weekend. So those kind of dictate a bit of my time too, like how much prep work do I need to do? Like what do I need to, like artwork I need to get done for those markets and things. So there's different things that do kind of put structure in my schedule. Or if like, oh, hey, I plan on doing this open mic, so I need to practice this much to be ready for that. And then also just keeping regular practices. Like I want to try to play guitar try to play a little bit every day just because I'm trying to get more comfortable with it. I've played guitar for years, but then kind of put it down for a minute. So I'm trying to kind of putting that back up. So yeah, just managing and just fitting in the things, just keeping regular practices too.
What's your relationship to procrastination? Or do you have a relationship with procrastination? Because procrastination and we're going steady and have been for a really long time.
Yeah, I plan on continuing to go really steady with procrastination because we're like, yeah, we're really tight. And by that, I mean, like, it does kick things into gear when there are deadlines that people are like, hey, I need this by this date. The worst is when someone's like, just take your time. I don't, just whenever I'm like, don't you do that, because I will take my time. If you're like, oh, I just need it in a few months, I'm like, you're going to get it in a few months then, because you have to like set those deadlines for my, for your sake, for my sake. Like, it's helpful. Not saying I wait till the last minute to do everything, but, it, when there's pressure, and also someone's expectations, those like I strive to meet others' expectations when it comes to like, my own financial well-being, and I also want them to be happy with what I'm doing, and like I'm valuing that I'm working for them and all that. So
procrastination is almost this dirty word that we're always so down. Oh, I'm such a procrastinator. Oh, it's so terrible. And I kind of wonder, especially for us folks who, although I've not been diagnosed with ADHD, I do suspect that I have it to some degree or other. And for me, I've really been down on myself for so long. Like, why do you put things off to the last minute? Why do you do that? Why do you do that? Actually, for me, and I think for a lot of other people who tend towards neurodivergence, it's actually a tool that helps us be motivated when it's time to be motivated. How do you feel like you use it? And
sure, it does. It definitely helps with motivation. Like, for instance, tonight I have a market and I have a number of things I need to get done. So it's almost like a challenge of like, how much can we get done in this amount of time? So it is that fire under you, that motivator at times. Like when I was saying like, I need a deadline, because it's like, that's what will keep me motivated to work on it. If I know I have all the time in the world, I'm just going to give it that and not focus on it. So it does kind of direct focus, I would say.
Do you feel like you have to give yourself deadlines on your own projects too, or else you let them fall away? Like, how does it translate to work that you do for yourself? I mean, like if you have a market, obviously, but say your open mics or things like that, do you have to give yourself a deadline or you won't do it?
Sure. And that is, like I am trying to get better at that too, where like, and it's all optional. Like I am choosing to sign up for the market. I am choosing to sign up for that open mic, because I am kind of setting that goal for myself of like, we will get these things done by this time. Here's what you need to get done by this time. So that's why I am kind of, part of me was like, oh, maybe I just want to take a complete break from markets so I can just focus on making. But instead of doing that, what I've found is helpful is like, okay, no, I will go to this market at this time, and what I will have done at this time will be this amount of stuff. And so it's more just like building, instead of being like, I need to have everything done all at once. It's like, at this market, we'll have this, these things done and these pieces to offer. At this market, in the few weeks after that, we'll build upon that and then have this new, these new pieces done. So I think it's, I think it's just about building, setting tangible goals that you can reach.
So achievable goals.
Achievable goals, and then just building as you go, because there's never going to be perfection, and you're never going to have everything done that you want, because there will always be more. So it's just like, what's the achievable goal right here? And it's just, building.
I love that, because I think that there is like a sense when we make things that we have to take the time to just sit and make the thing. And then when that is completed, we may share it or we may do something. So you have to like write all your songs together and release them as an album. You have to like make all your art or write an entire thing. For like, I just loved hearing you say that, because I had a little light bulb that's also how I work, but I'm trying so hard not to work like that. I don't know why. Like Carrie and I were talking about earlier that the more time you have, the less you seem to get done, or like at least for us. And so it's like, if you give yourself the time to make stuff, would you just not make it? Like I am like, I need time to write this show that I'm writing. And the person who wants me to write it said, we'll do it whenever it's done.
Ugh.
and I'm like, I'm going to write that show and I'm going to section out time to write it. I'm not doing anything right now. Like I have written some things, but yeah, I need the deadline. And as you go, like I love that. I just had a little light bulb that's like, maybe we could work with that instead of against it, to be like, okay, it's making time now, you know?
I think for me, it feels so huge. Like, okay, I'm going to do this whole thing. Let's say right now I'm making a blazer, which is a whole journey in and of itself. Like, it's so many pattern pieces, it's so many steps. It is overwhelming AF. And if I think about the whole blazer as a whole, it's demotivating. I don't want to do it at all. And in fact, I was stuck there the other day being like, I don't want to do this blazer anymore. I don't want to sew anymore. And then I was like, you know what? Chunk this shit down. So then I just wrote out, okay, today we're just going to do the top breast welt pocket. That's it. We're not going to move on to even if you get done with that one pocket, you're not moving on, because we're going to set the next thing for the next day and the next thing for the next day. Because what ends up happening is I finish that one thing, and then my perfectionism comes in and is like, okay, but if you really want to be the A student here, you need to move on to the next thing and the next thing. And before I know it, I am so worn out. It's 10 o'clock at night. I'm still working on the thing because I'm task mastering myself to do the thing, instead of being like, no, we made the goal. Finish line achieved for today. And
Yeah, I think it's helpful to have just like the little chunks of, project. So
is that kind of what you mean by when you say building?
Yeah, I mean you're sure. Yeah, so you're just kind of taking taking things off into sections, and just because I found that, like, if I do, like, which a lot of times I do have like a jillion things to do, is that if I don't just section off and say I will work on this one thing at this time, then I will have complete overwhelm and shutdown and won't work on anything.
Yes.
And so it's just and by building I mean, like, it's kind of like building your blazer. Is you have this one thing done at this time, and then the next will be the pocket, and the next will be the sleeve, and that way at the end of it you have a full blazer. So that's kind of a good analogy, even if it's like I have this small business and say, like, I have like, say the hot dog and corn dog are one product, but then it's like I'm also starting to paint little tiny small fries, so I can be like, would you like a small fry? And so then
my gosh,
so
it's
cute.
like, well, if I don't
Sorry, they're so cute. So
small.
tiny.
But so it's like I'll have it this at this market, and then the next time I'll have the small fries, and you continue to like build upon the idea. So I'm also doing that too. I'm like, okay, this is fun. What else can I add to this that also, and that's like, that's my wheelhouse of what I'm working on, but it can be kind of, parallel with the blazer. Yes, the analogy there.
I feel like because perfectionists do this thing where we're like, it has to be perfect. It has to be like completely branded. Everything has to be in place. Everything has to be perfect before I release the thing. And what you're saying is for some people, that is overwhelming, induces shutdown. Instead, just start the thing, build on it as you go. And at some point it will be, built up enough that you're like, okay, this is my, this is my business, but it takes time to get there. But at least starting small gets you started. Because a lot of times if we wait until it's all built and finished and like perfect, it'll never happen.
Yeah, because every single thing takes time to build. And I honestly kind of look at like my entire like artistic career as this kind of thing that has just built over time. So where it is kind of like, oh, I do have this skill set that is kind of like a wide array, and I want to expand upon it further. And it's just like, but it's just, it's been a chunk of learning at a time. And I mean, you could relate that to any fields of practice, whether it's art or medicine or, whatever you're building upon. And it's like, you you make these things or you take these courses to learn these skills, and it's just it builds over time. So
Yeah.
but yeah, definitely get a start.
We have to make this for ourselves as people who are creatives often. So say like I think most of us have a thing we want to show, a thing we want to tell, or a sound we want to make or something, and we are in charge of those deadlines, which I think is the hardest part. And what I
Yes.
try to do, which is hard for me, is I have to set an event and be like, I only have to do this one topic for this event. So like I've got a vocal health thing coming up. I decided to just do it. No, maybe no one's going to be there, but I'm going to film it, and a couple people have already bought the replay. Like, great. Now I have to craft my thing for that. I had to make it myself. And I think with sewing or any of that stuff, that's hard. Like, because what do you can't show it, it feels like, till the end. But I think one thing that we can do with our creative communities, and what we kind of talked about in our coaching stuff, Becca, is like create a smaller goal for yourself that is show. Maybe like, okay, I have a friend that I know and I'm going to show her my sleeve next week. And I told her that I was going to show my sleeve to her so that I have a reward of being like, here's this thing. Like, Becca has a market. I've got to show my stuff by then. Like, I've got to make these things because I committed to doing this. Like, making our deadlines for ourselves and having it be like nothing's too small. I can be like, I want to write one song that I can do in 3 weeks. You know, like I don't have to write the whole show. So
What would we do as artists without other artists?
We need each other.
Yeah.
we really do.
Like,
Well,
yes. I think we get all like, oh, I can just make all this shit on my own. And, like, I don't need any, like, I'm a rock, I'm an island. And, like, really having the comfort of knowing that I have people out there that are going to be like, yep, show me the shitty, show me the tiny steps. I want to see them. I need to see them because I need to show you my tiny steps too, is so comforting to me.
well, and I think on the lines of like kind of getting started and not being like too intimidated to get started too. Like it's one thing like set goals for yourself, but I think another important thing is like one thing I've found is like that's been intimidating is like I'm not this master guitarist. But like one thing Emily you helped me with is like you don't have to be like some master guitarist to get out there and go play some songs. So it's kind of like also just meeting yourself where you are. And being like accepting of like this is the skill level that I'm at, and no, it's not my ideal, but it's like this is okay, and I will just like, but also like moving beyond that and being like this is where I am now, and I will continue to build on it, so that won't like deter you from even doing.
You mean self-acceptance has to do with making art or not?
Oh yeah, and then
Oh.
also being willing to like accept setbacks, because sometimes if I'm like I want to do this market and I want to have all of these items, and say when I get to that market I don't, it's like, well, that's where I am also, but it's like still do the market. Or like even when I did that first open mic, I was like I'll have 3 songs, but by the time the third song came up my nerves hit me, and I got like I was kind of like, and that's actually all I have right now. I'm not going to just force myself to move forward. But then it like kind of like along the community thing where people, when I got off the stage, they're like, you actually did really good. And like, it was that support system. So that's also a necessary, awesome thing. And I don't know, I think it's good to build upon where you are. And then, yes, find those support systems that help support you further and like help move you forward. So if that's like, if with its music, if it's building a band, or like with my company, it's like, I don't want to have to do every single part of it myself. Like I get someone else to print my stuff for me. I don't have to do all the printing too. So, yeah, we network and we collaborate in different ways.
Make a team of some sort, even if part of your team is just like a person I talk to once every couple of months, just to be like, yeah, like let's build each other up. Teams can look all different.
That's right. Becca, you were talking about staying motivated. And Emily and I have talked about this. We've kind of like mentioned this idea of INCUP. It's used as like an acronym to remember the terms that help people to stay motivated, generally with ADHD. This whole idea of INCUP has helped me so much. It stands for, the I is interest. If you can't get motivated to do something, add something you find interesting, and that can help to motivate. The second is novelty, so something that's new. Going and working at a new coffee shop that's different and
Sure.
and new. The third one is challenge or competition. The fourth one is urgency. So that's where, we're using procrastination as kind of a tool to help us be motivated. And the fifth one is passion. Can you speak to specific instances where, kind of like biohacking your brain, you've been able to motivate yourself in a way that has been helpful to get things done?
Sure, and I'll just touch on that. Like, I've never been formally diagnosed with ADHD either, but I'm like, my brother has, and I think it shows up for different in women, so it affected us differently when we were younger. But pretty sure I have that going on. But so I guess like I mentioned, like, so say I get some work, but then I get a new job that comes in, then I get excited because that's the novel thing of like, oh, but I still have these old jobs. So it was like, I use the example of like, okay, well, I still needed to get these old jobs done, and they're still great jobs. They're valid jobs. Like, and so it's just like, I have to like I used the analogy earlier, but it's kind of like guiding a toddler or something, where it's like, okay, the toddler is like maybe upset over here, but it's like, no, let's not get upset. Let's go play in this pond, this little, and you're like, oh yeah, that's cool. And the pond is cool, even though the pond's been there the whole time. Still go play in the pond. So yeah, it's just like, it's really like mentally getting into what you're doing and just like enjoying that moment, because what we have is now. So it's so get into it in the time. To stay like interested and passionate. I mean, I enjoy like helping people, so that's like a something I value, and it's like people get really excited, and that's like really when I finish a job, not only do I get paid for it, but then people are like, we love this helped us so much. I'm like, it's just like it feels so good all around. So that's motivating. When it comes to my own projects, like, sure, stuff can sell, but I just like, I love the enjoyment. So I mean, I feel like I'm like somewhat of I'm an entertainer also, when I'm like kind of putting on this performative thing. If people are getting joy out of it, that's like,
oh yeah,
that's the shit.
That's right.
I just love that you let yourself play with it too, because they don't, your creative endeavors are not in separate bubbles. Like, you're putting all the bubbles together. So you're performing and you're painting and you're making money and you're doing all of that together, and you let yourself do that instead of being like, no, Becca, the rules are you have to do this, like, it's so cool. The building piece that you've said a couple times, I think is really important to recognize, because I think we almost think of things as they're an event that happens and then it goes away. When we create things and we sell them, or we sing a song and it goes away, it's like, oh, that event happened, I accomplished that I do that anyway. But we could recognize that everything we're doing is building. Every creative endeavor that we have is building on our experience and building a collection of wins. And I think we need that arsenal of the things that we've built to rely on, maybe when sometimes we are having a tough time feeling like we've done anything or motivating ourselves at all,
And on that note, upon like building, and like, I think also the person that you are, like, say you're like this amazing guitarist or something, but you're just like a super jerk and nobody wants to like work. It's like, that's also something you're bringing. It's like, you can't just have just the thing. It's like, I mean, you're bringing your full self to the table. So it's like, be a good guitarist and a really nice person. It's like, people will want to work with you then.
You can do both.
You can do both. You can have it all.
Becca, how do you deal with shutdown?
Well, sometimes you just have to nap it out. And then
Nap it out. Yes.
well, so another thing that's been really great for like my energy lately is I've gotten like way into hot yoga. So exercise has really helped for me, and just going in, having that separate place that's away from all of the other things, including like my home studio, or like I work in coffee shops a ton. So it's like, it's just a separate place, environment. You can go find that on a hike too. But this is just what I happen to get into like within the last couple months. I'm like way into hot yoga. I love it. So that's been helping.
Maybe we need to define some terms. So, what does shutdown look like for you?
Oh, okay.
And what is shutdown for you?
Shut down. So I think it has to do with that kind of overwhelm. Maybe feeling like there's too many things to focus on, so then nothing is focused on, and then maybe it's like, and then when it can go back into my own emotions, and like that's where kind of like I'd say like depression or anxiety can come into play, and it's like where I'm like I'm taken to dealing with hard emotions, which that's still part of being a person, is you're still going to deal with your past and your anxieties, and I've dealt with those things for years. I do, like, at this current time in my life, feel like I'm managing them probably better than I maybe ever have, which is great. And I do attribute that to feeling open with like my creative outlets, and then also with exercise, and then also having a social network. So it's like, it's a holistic type thing. It's not just one or the other. And it's, always a work in progress. But that's kind of how I can stay out of shutdown. And there's still days when, you need to take a day off, and emotionally maybe you're not feeling great today, or at this for a few hours or something. And it's like, it's a part of that self-acceptance, and being willing also to accept kind of like step backs, or so they may seem. You're like, well, I'm not moving forward in this moment. It's like, it's okay. It's accepting that's part of the process. So it's really just, it's about having openness and acceptance. It's, the balance of, probably for me specifically, it's exercise, social interaction, and just like going out and doing different things. Like, even like, I started reading a book called The Artist's Way recently. I don't know if y'all are familiar, but I've been doing I've been doing my morning pages, which if y'all haven't heard of the book, it's really great. It kind of gives you like kind of assignments. And then this is to people listening, but it's that it is about kind of unblocking yourself from creativity. And it's like, I've gone on my like artist dates where I was like, I took myself to go see Dune the other day. Which is funny because I've kind of been dealing with some like family drama. So like during Dune, I was just kind of like with myself, but I was kind of like crying a bit during the movie, which, it's supposed to like, but I was like, this is part of my emotional release, which it's not all just like rainbows and butterflies all the time. I'm like, no, I'm dealing with things too. So
well, those are some amazing tools, and thank you for your vulnerability too, because I do think at least when I hear people who are doing so many amazing things that it's like, I wish I was doing all that. We do assume that once you've kind of reached a place where you're making art for your business, as a business, you're like doing all your creative things, you're achieving all these goals, you assume you wouldn't be crying in a movie. But you know what?
Yep.
Like, we're doing that. Like, this is happening. So I appreciate your vulnerability. We were just talking about this before, like how our anxiety kind of plays out sometimes. It's not all roses, even when you're doing so many amazing things.
That's right.
But thank you for sharing that too, and just talking to us about all the amazing things you're doing. I can't wait to see more small fries. Well, thank you so much. You're great.
Thanks, Becca.
We really appreciate you being here with us today. And gosh, I'm in awe of you, and you're doing amazing things. So thank you so much, friend. Thanks for being here.
Honestly, dear listener.